This is all new to me.
Is this your first time being on something?
Yeah.
I'm glad that we get to be your first
Experience.
We're the first people to ever interview you
Yeah,
in like a professional manner, I guess.
Not going to lie, I'm a little nervous about it. I don't like being in the spotlight. I never have.
Well, now you got two
Yeah.
to worry about.
Very bright spot.
They are very
Yeah.
bright. They're only at 10% as as
Oh,
10
my
and
gosh.
5%, yeah.
Wow.
We have a lot of questions that we want to ask you today.
Great.
And I hope you have some interesting answers. But before we get started, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I mean, how's it going so far? Because, there was a lot of hype leading up to it, but then it's been kind of chill. I've heard a lot of good things, but how's it going for y'all?
It's been a very good experience so far. We have I think the last time I checked, we had 49 subscribers, over 50 hours of total watch time across all the videos, which isn't too bad, and a couple hundred views.
Cool.
So definitely we're growing.
I'm going to start off with kind of a silly question.
Okay.
I love to hear people's answers with this. If you could describe yourself as an animal, what would you describe yourself as?
Oh, wow. I'd like to say as a quarter horse, but
Really?
yeah,
Quarter
I feel like
horse.
that's probably way above my level. Yeah, because they're beautiful animals. They're athletic. They're beautiful. They're high-spirited. I would like to see myself described as that, but I'm not really sure that that's what other people would describe me as.
That's really interesting. Dr. Moss said he would be like a meerkat or something.
He did. I could see him as a meerkat.
Yeah.
Kind of going off of that question, what is an animal that you think other people see you as?
Yeah, that's the one that concerns me. I really don't know. It depends on who you're talking to, I think, because my experience here is people see me as one person, and that's not who I am at all. So the person I am in my private life, I would have to say, probably like a golden retriever, because they're loyal, they're good-natured. They're happy to be wherever, as long as they're around people that love them and that they love, that's what I would have to say in my personal life. And I'm just not even going to try to say what I think people here would see me as.
Okay, that's fine. Well, what about us? What kind of animals do you see us as?
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh. So let me see.
And while we wait for an answer, let me go ahead and segment us into the intro.
Yes.
Welcome to Coffee... Which camera? Welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast.
So I could see you being like I like dogs. I just like the different breeds of dogs and the different personalities they have. I could see you, and I don't know the specific breed, but there is a breed out there. It looks like a cross between a German Shepherd and a Pit Bull, but it's solid black and it has black eyes. Like, it's a beautiful animal, but it's very serious and it's very focused. And that's what it's bred for. And that's how I see you.
Interesting.
You get your teeth in something and you don't let go. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So that's how and I wish I had known, because I actually looked that breed up one day. I saw one walking down the road and I wanted to know what kind it was, but they're laser focused. And
Wow.
so I could see that. You strike me as maybe not any particular breed, but you're also very focused, but you are more laid back about it. Every time I see you, you're smiling and happy, and but you've got a mission. And so I don't know, you could be a lab.
Oh, I like that.
You could be a lab. They have a job to do, but they're also happy and moving forward and that kind of thing. Do I have to do everybody?
If you want to do the people behind camera, are y'all okay with that?
Okay, let's see. I'm just going to stick to the dog thing because I know the breeds of dogs. I can see you being like a Jack Russell, because they're rare. Jack Russells, depending on the dog you get, because I've had two in my lifetime, and one was the best dog ever and well behaved and very chill, and the other one was off the walls. And I can see you being both of those.
That makes a lot of sense for Clinton.
Yeah.
So I could see a Jack Russell for you. For you, I would say like a golden doodle.
Aw.
Yeah, just sweet and happy and just wanting to be with everybody and enjoy what they're doing. And yeah, I could see that. And then let's see, Emma.
I think a poodle.
A poodle?
Yeah, a fancy little...
So that
Poodle.
that one is a good comparison. My mom had a poodle, and everybody in my family loved that dog. And so after having her, I've talked to people who were poodle owners, and they say all of them are like that. They love deeply, and they want everybody to love them, and they want things to go well and for people to be happy. And so I can see that.
I feel like those fit everybody really well.
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to look up the name of your breed and let you know.
All right.
It's a really cool dog.
Well, to kind of officially start, I'm gonna start with a question that maybe not a lot of people are wondering, but I'm wondering. I want to know.
Okay.
What made you want to work in education?
So it's a terrible answer, and I've given it before. People have asked, why did you ever get into education in the first place? I'll be honest. I had a baby. He was 9 months old, and I had not finished my college degree. I did things a little bit unorthodox. And I had gone to college for 2 years, and back then you had to declare a major after your sophomore year. And I had originally gone to college to be a nurse and figured out that it was not what I wanted to do. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So at year 2, I decided I was just going to take a break. I was wasting time and money if I continued. And so I was a travel agent for 2 years and got married during that time. My husband and I had dated for 7 years, and it was just time to get married. And so then I worked for him and worked at the hospital also in radiology, and did that for a long time, and had our little boy, and decided that I did not want him to go to school in the town where we lived because the school was not very good. And so I decided the best thing I could do would be to finish my degree and be a teacher, and so that he could go to school wherever I was going to teach. And so that's how I ended up there, and then figured out once I got there that it's where I was supposed to be in the first place.
Have you enjoyed the education system?
Yep, I have. Now, naturally, anytime you're dealing with people in any setting, there are frustrations. But I have always enjoyed where I was. But I also say that I tell people that I've never applied for a job in education. I've always just gotten a phone call. Somebody calls me and tells me, and I say that's God has placed me where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Including this one, I got a phone call. Every job, somebody calls, and that's where I end up.
Is it hard to separate being a principal from being a parent?
So this is what I tell kids a lot. It's no secret that people think I'm hard. That I'm a tough person, and I am a tough person. I'm a tough person at home and here, but it's because I have such high standards. And because that's such a deep part of who I am, that's part of who I am. I'm going to have high standards. I'm going to be that person. I don't know if I really answered your question.
So it'd be kind of the same. Like it's kind of like grouping it together.
Yeah.
But would you say there's a boundary that you draw between like people that aren't related to you to whereas if they were?
No.
You treat everyone the same?
Yes. And I have told you, there are kids here, I have told kids throughout my entire career, I'm going to talk to you like I talk to my own kids. And I talk to my own kids pretty tough sometimes when they're not achieving the way I think they should. And I'll be honest, it was tough to hear the first time he said it to me, but he didn't mean it in a negative way. He was just telling me how he relates to me, that I'm very militant. My middle child, he's my youngest son, my middle child, said I was very militant in the way that I expressed my expectations. And the first time I heard it, that was hard to hear because I'm a mom and I'm a woman and I want to be a softer person. And so for him to tell me that was hard, but it's just also part of who I am. And once people really get to know me, they know that that's not my overall persona. It's just one way I communicate.
Yeah.
So I don't really draw a line between the two. I am who I am, and I'm consistent in that.
Kind of going back to the question he just asked, you said you went to school to be a nurse, but when you were a kid, what did you really want to be?
So it's funny because when I was a kid, I used to always, I had it was a huge green chalkboard in my bedroom that used to be in a school, but my dad had gotten it somewhere. And because I played school all the time, he brought it home to me to have in my bedroom. So I guess in the back of my mind, I really thought that would be fun, would be, to be a teacher, because I played school all the time by myself with my friends. It didn't matter. But I never had this overarching goal of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I never really thought about it, I guess.
So being a teacher has always kind of been there?
Yeah. School has always been in the back of my mind. Now, I do tell people all the time, because I'm a very creative person and actually taught art for 10 years, that I feel like I kind of missed a calling somewhere along the way, because I really think I probably should have been in interior design. But, those are things I think you always will have pieces of you that you think maybe I didn't use that the way I should have.
Interesting. So, what was it you said? Like interior design. What would you recommend this room look like? Like just off of first glance, right? Like the background and the furniture.
Yeah.
What would you say?
So in my mind, I picture a darker room, not so bright. I know you have to have brightness for lighting and stuff, but I really thought we would have some moodier lighting, I guess. Sound panels always look cool. Even though they serve a purpose, they look cool too.
Yeah.
So I expected to see some of that. You know, when you go into like a recording studio and that sort of thing, they have couches and chairs, and it's a comfortable space so that when people enter into it, they're kind of put at ease.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would see some color, darker color, and
I'll try and implement that into the final look of the room whenever we start getting the furniture and stuff.
okay. Yeah.
Speaking of the room, do you have any recommendations for things we can use the podcast for?
Oh wow. We mentioned it. You know, I'm administrator on duty at games and things, and we really think it would be cool if y'all would cover some events, not just sporting events, but like ag. You know, you're very involved in the FFA. They're down there a lot. Kind of almost use it as like a reporting platform, but pull in some of those kids that are involved in that, because we have so many things going on here that even though people might be aware that we have them, they don't really know much about them.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way to getting kids involved, because we have lots of kids that aren't involved in anything. And I don't know if it's because they don't know about it or aren't interested or whatever. But, you know, I think we could use this as a platform to kind of showcase some of those things and show the good things going on around here. I think you could be an outreach too. It's important that we get a feel for what kids would like, because a lot of times what we have in place and what we're looking at having in place are so far off from what kids would like to have, but because they don't communicate that to us, we don't know. And so I think you would be a good bridge between administration and the kids as to what they would like to have. Now, naturally, we have to do things within reason, but like you didn't hesitate to ask me about the podcast last year. Most kids don't do that. They just talk amongst their friends what they want. And until we know, we can't help you get what you want.
Yeah, they just expect you to read their minds in a way.
And I'm a long way from being a kid, so I don't really, you know, always know what kids are into and what they want. So I think you could be a good communication bridge.
So you've been in education for a good while now. What is the best advice you've received from someone in the field?
Oh, gosh. So Mary Russell, Miss Russell, our English 1 and 2 teacher, she is currently a great mentor. I told her the other day, I don't know if you know it, but you're teaching me too. She reminds me not to let things steal my joy, because I do get so far into a situation or my thought process is about something that I forget to be excited and happy and enjoy the process. I just got that piece of information this week. It's just a reminder, you know, that just because we're doing hard things and trying to improve things and do what's right doesn't mean we have to be so serious all the time. And I have a tendency to do that. So that was good advice. But as far as education itself, or my career itself, years ago, I had a coach friend tell me, if you're going to stay in education, I had only been in it probably 6 or 7 years at that time. If you're going to stay in education, you have to decide now, because if you are in it past 10 years, you will never get out until you retire. And financially, it wouldn't be smart to. And so if you're going to stay in it, you need to decide. And if you are, you need to do 2 things. 1, focus on your retirement and what that looks like. And 2, devote yourself to it. You're either in it or you're not, and you need to decide. And so, you know, that has been a reminder over the course of my career. I made the decision to stay in it, and so I have to devote myself to it. Anyway, I think that was the one piece of advice that has stuck with me all these years.
I like that.
The advice that Miss Russell gave you, I can definitely relate to that, because I do so many different projects. I'm always working on something, and whenever I'm not, I feel like I'm not like doing anything like worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard to relax.
Yeah, because like if I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I could be doing this project or that. But I definitely relate to that as well, because I'll finish a project and then I'm immediately moving to the next thing. I don't really give myself a chance to sit back and look at what I've accomplished and feel accomplished.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of on the opposite side of that. I always feel like stuck. I can't do one thing because I want to do another, but I want to do both things at the same time.
Yeah.
So I get in a kind of dilemma between the two.
And so what do? Do you end up doing nothing, or how do you move forward?
Well, most of the time I go by, I don't know, for schoolwork I usually go by due dates. So if it's something's due before the other, I don't know. I procrastinate a lot.
Yeah.
And it's really a problem, honestly. I don't know. I do get stuck sometimes, and I
Yeah.
can't do stuff sometimes when I'm
Yeah.
stuck between two things.
Another question about your work and being in education. We asked Dr. Moss this as well. What is the craziest story? I think I've actually asked everybody this
I
so
think
far.
so.
What is the craziest story from your experience? It can be funny, scary, intense.
Oh, wow. There are so many. I'm trying to decide which direction I want to go, if I want it to be funny or oh man,
You could do both.
I could. So I'm not going to lie, this one's going to be an emotional one. In all my years in education, I have never worked with someone or for anyone or in any way, shape, or form where they've passed away. So Mr. Johnson's death is definitely an experience that I have not had in my career, and it's been hard because he was such a good guy and truly loved what he did. And he was such a good example for people in education, both the kids and adults. That's a tough one. I've had to really process that one just to find a place for it, because I didn't have a place prior to losing him, because I didn't have that experience. So that's one that will stick with me always, even after retirement, I think. On a lighter note, I spent 10 years in middle school, and I'm gonna probably shouldn't tell this one, but I was pretty early in my career. I'd been teaching, I guess, 2 or 3 years. And I had a collective group of boys, 6th grade boys, who were wild and crazy. They were fun. I'm not going to take that from them, but they did not have a cutoff switch. And I had them all together in the same class. And it's art. And art is an unstructured class for the most part, or mine was anyway. And we did block scheduling. So 2 days a week, I would have them for an hour and a half at a time. And then on Fridays, we had all 8 of our classes. And I ended my day with that group of boys.
Oh,
And on Fridays, they were really on fire.
yeah.
And I have great classroom management. I didn't have to send kids to the office. They didn't misbehave in my class. But these boys pushed it every day. And so on this particular Friday, I had had enough. It was springtime, and it was beautiful outside, and they were on fire. And I said, I don't know if y'all realize how sick of this beep I am. And I'm not that person. And they hushed. Not another word was said, and they just had this look of awe on their face for the rest of the class period. And so immediately after, I went to my principal and I said, I have to tell you something. And he said, what? And it's a Friday afternoon. No principal wants to hear this. I said, I just cussed at my class, and I've never done that. And I've never done that since. And he said, it's going to be fine. If that's the worst thing you did, it's going to be fine. If we have complaints, I'll have to write you up. But if nobody complains, we're going to keep on going. I said, yes, sir. And then I worried about it all weekend long, but it was fine. And I actually ran into one of those students. He's grown. He's 32, I guess now. Ran into him in Huntsville. He was at Target with his little boy. And we got to talking, and he said, do you remember that day that you cussed at us? And I said, oh, yes, I do. And he said, that was the funniest day of my entire education. He
Really?
said, we left out of there thinking, oh, my gosh, that's hilarious. And he said, but then we felt real bad because we pushed you to that. And he actually apologized for the way they behaved when they were 6th graders. But I will never forget that. It was the funniest and the scariest thing, because I was just... it's like I stepped outside myself for a minute. So anyway, those are 2 very extreme situations.
Would you say you have like a favorite part of your job?
It depends on which. I've done so many different things throughout my career. It depends on if you're talking about in past positions or in my current position. In my current position, I really like to watch how the programs and how the numbers play out in education. Accountability is a big deal at the high school level, and so you're constantly moving pieces around to see what you can do to maximize your accountability. Because, even though that's a very analytical and business side of things, it really drives a lot of the thoughts and decisions that I have to make. So in this current position, that's probably close to one of my favorites. Now, something I really, really enjoy that I don't get to do much in this side of things is I love to get to know the kids. In my past positions, I did dual credit for several years. I was the dual credit supervisor, and I enjoyed getting to know kids because I wasn't responsible for lesson plans or grades or anything like that. And kids were more in a college setting, so they would come in and talk, and you really get to know the kids for who they are and not just as high school students. You really get to know the kids, and they would get to know me. And so I enjoyed that because they got a glimpse into who I am as a person and not just an educator. So that probably above all else is one of my favorite things, even though I don't really get to do that in this position. That's one of my most favorite things. Kids have a lot to offer, and so many times we just pigeonhole them as students when they're people.
Yes, ma'am.
They're just people here.
Going back off that, would you say you have a least favorite part?
In this position, yes. Because of the role I play here and because discipline is a big part of what I do, even though Miss Kincaid is our disciplinarian, a lot of times I have to handle that. People are automatically in a negative mindset when they have to, communicate with me about a discipline issue, whether it's a parent or a student. They're automatically in a negative mindset. And so the exchange that you have to have with people in that particular situation is automatically clouded by a barrier, I guess you could say. That's probably my least favorite, is having to have those difficult conversations about things that have taken place. And a lot of times it's an uncomfortable topic that we have to talk about. And so you have to be very careful, with the things that you say. And so that's tough. On the flip side of that, I also see it as a challenge to try to communicate with those people in a way that helps them see that my goal is to come out with the most positive outcome that we can come out of a bad situation. If I could come here every day and not have to ever deal with those kinds of situations, I think I would have the perfect job.
Well, okay, this is not related to school anymore, but what is a parenting technique that you do that most parents might not do? I'm not saying that could be a bad thing. Like, it could be something positive. I could give you an example of what I'm going to do if I ever have children. I want the house to smell different throughout the years of their life, so I'll do different scented candles. So whenever they're 3 to 6, I might do a lemon scented candle throughout the house, and then 6 through 10 I might do cinnamon scented, because scent is so closely related to memories and nostalgia. Whenever they're grown, they'll actually know this smell takes me back to what it felt like whenever I was this age, or this candle makes me think about this. I think that'll give them a sense of nostalgia that a lot of other kids don't really get to experience, because they'll smell something randomly, but they can't pinpoint the exact smell or the exact time. And it's kind of like a word that's on the tip of your tongue. You know what it feels like, but you can't exactly pin it down.
So my thing along those lines, I don't really do anything groundbreaking discipline-wise or anything like that. But one thing that my boys, my kids are spread out. I have a 26-year-old, one who's about to be 20, and then a 12-year-old. And so throughout those years of raising kids, my husband has worked out of town a lot, and so he works pretty far off when he is. And so we would go see him a lot of times, and we would call those our adventures. And we take trips all the time, and so that's one thing that it's not a joke in our family, but something we say all the time. We're going on an adventure. And especially when my husband is with us on those trips, because he's a kid in a big body. He's a kid in an adult body, and so he makes everything more fun. And so we would take road trips, and we never take interstate if we can avoid it. We take the road less traveled. We like to go through the small towns and see what different parts of this nation look like. But that's something we have always done. Is I think it's important to travel with your kids domestically, not internationally. We have so many things here in the United States that are worth seeing, that we travel here at home. But that's one of the things that I've always liked to do with my kids, is go on our adventures. And they remember those things. But pack the car full of snacks. And I've always had a car with TV in it. And so we would go get movies, we'd get the Andy Griffith Show and, things that they wouldn't typically watch because they're captive. You know, when you go on a trip like that in a car, you're all captive. You talk about things you might not ordinarily talk about, and you notice things around you that you might not ever notice because you're going about your daily life. And so those are things that we have always done since our oldest was born, is go on those adventures. And
Wow.
we have lots of memories from those.
I really like that. It's
Yeah.
like a small thing, but you're making a big difference with it.
Yeah. I went on a trip this December, and I think it was to Kentucky, and it was an unforgettable experience, like driving through all the different small towns and seeing all the different things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that I can look back at that, and I guess bringing it back to the nostalgia of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's something I can think about and remember and keep close to me throughout the rest of my life.
I think it might be kind of like Cohen's question, but is there something about you that people would be surprised to know?
Yes. Only the people who really know me know that the person that most people meet and get to know is not who I am personally. I'm really a tender-hearted person, but for whatever reason, I don't know why, I'm tough on the outside. And it often bothers me that people see me as a very hard person, because when the lights aren't on and people aren't looking at me for answers and I'm not the one in charge, I'm a laid back, easygoing, fun-loving person. I don't want any responsibilities. I don't want to answer questions. I mean, when I'm with my family, I don't even like to decide where we're going to eat. I tell them, don't ask me. I don't care where we eat. I'm going to be happy wherever we go. So I really have a soft side that very few people know about. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think I can relate to that a little bit too, putting on a harder exterior.
Yeah.
Where do you see this campus going within the next few years?
Oh, wow. You know, when they say if you're going to dream, you might as well dream big. One thing that I would love to see is us to build a new high school. We don't have the space, you know, that I would like to see, because there is so much we could offer, so many dynamic things. And even with the programs we have in place, things that we could do better that would be more beneficial if we had different facilities. You know, and of course, when you dream about building a school, you dream about all the things. So at some point, realistically, we will have to build another school, whether it's a high school or junior high or whatever, because we're out of room. You know, we just are. And because of the state keeps requiring more and more for our accountability measures. We have to figure out ways to make those things happen in a way that benefits you guys the most. You know, and Grapeland is a small town, and lots of kids don't ever get to go outside of Grapeland and see bigger and better. And I think that's important in order for kids to create goals for themselves outside of being right here. And it's like I would tell my own kids who just grew up in Elkhart, right up the road. It's a small town too, but I would tell my own kids at home, I don't care if you go to college or not, but you are going to do something, and you are going to leave Elkhart to do it. Now, you can come back home when you get ready to come back home, but you need to get out of here and see what's out there. And I think it's our job in education to bring that to kids who don't have the means to do other things. We have to open kids' eyes to dreams if we expect them to set a goal to achieve. So, you know, I think that's my perfect world expectation for where we're going, and to some degree a realistic goal too. But I really want to see more and more kids get involved in what we are offering. You know, there are so many kids who don't have somewhere to plug into, which is one reason I really was in support of this podcast. That's something like nothing else we have. And so I think the more success you guys have, and the more you do with it, the more people are going to see it and go, oh, that is so cool. I want to be a part of that. And then that, to me, that kind of rips off the Band-Aid of dreaming of different things that we might not have thought of because we're in a box. It's my hope that this kind of takes the lid off the box and we start thinking bigger. So yeah, more things for kids, opening kids' eyes. I just always think dynamically and progressively, and I want other people to see that's a possibility, and then, you know, go from there.
Wow. As a part of like the rules that you have set in place right now, do you see, I have a couple examples here, like the phone policy or hair colors or piercings. Do you see those rules staying in place for the future?
So here's the thing. I have taken a hit for that a whole lot. And to some degree it is me, but that's because of the job I do. I don't set those rules. Our school board sets those rules. And even if I tell kids and parents alike, even if I don't agree with those rules, Grapeland ISD pays me to do a job, and that job includes enforcing those rules. And I'm a rule follower. And when you set an expectation for me, that's what I'm going to do. And so just because I enforce those rules doesn't necessarily mean I have anything to do with setting those rules.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I do support our board. I think they have their reasons for why, and they do include us a lot of times in some of those decisions. And they're very good about revisiting those things and saying, is this working? Is this not working? And we have to think about overall, how does that rule or not having it affect your campus and the dynamics there? So as far as the phone policy, I will say I support that 100%. And I always will, because I watched kids last year sit at lunch and talk to each other. And the teachers who had been here prior to that said, oh no, this is not what happened at lunch. They got their phones out and some of them would never exchange a word. I think it's important that we put phones down. And some of our kids, when they leave school at the end of the day, never put their phone down. And we have lost the ability to communicate effectively with each other because of phones. We say things to people that we wouldn't say ordinarily, because we're behind a device. I think that I grew up in a time when we didn't have cell phones, and we knew each other's names, and we knew each other's home life. We just were more aware of each other as humans. And so that phone policy I will always support. If we could go back to a time when we didn't have cell phones, I would do it in a heartbeat. So yeah, I don't see that going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
Hair color and those sorts of things, those things don't bother me. And I actually had to retrain myself when I went into administration to notice those things, because that's not who I am outside of here. Those things just don't cross my radar. So that might be a conversation we could have.
This is just for me, but I know a lot of people, they'll use those things to express who they are,
Sure.
right? And I'm working on my second music album right now, and the music videos, for each song, I want to do like a different hairstyle and a different color. I just know that it's harder to do that because of the rules right now.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like if they were to be those rules, would revoked be the word? They were
Modified,
just removed,
revoked, whatever,
yeah.
however they decided to do it.
But I think it's interesting
Yeah,
how students use those things to express who they are, and
I do too. But I do know there are statistics and there is data out there to support the argument either way. So you just have to decide, and that's something, having served on a school board myself, you have to decide as a board what your values are. Every school has a mission and a vision, and you have to decide as a board, in collaboration with your superintendent and your administrators, what your values for your school are based on your community culture. So, those are tough decisions to make, and you don't ever know if it's the right decision or not. You just have to try to put in place things that you believe are in line with your values as a community.
yeah. And I know it isn't just Grapeland that those rules apply.
Yeah.
It's a lot of schools,
Yeah.
especially around here. So yeah, I do understand.
Yeah.
I do understand like why they are set in place.
Sure. Yeah.
You were talking about the school, the future of the school, but where do you see yourself and your career going in the future?
So that's the thing. I can actually retire in a couple of years. I can take early retirement in 2 years. And there are days that I strongly believe that I will do that. And then there are days that I think, this is cool. I have a great job. There's no reason to retire. And I have a daughter who's 12, so she's going to be in school for quite some time, and then she'll probably go to college, and I'll have to pay for that. And so if I were to retire in a couple of years, it would only be to either take a year off and maybe do something else in education, maybe not necessarily administration or in the classroom, but in some other way, or to do something totally different. I always dreamed of having a Christmas store, and I would call it Christmas Break. A spin-off on the school thing. Now, I don't know that I'll ever do that, but I have had that placed on my heart years ago, and I've never gone away from it. So I can even tell you what it looks like when I walk in. Like, it's designed in my head.
The interior design party
Yeah,
is coming
there you
out.
go.
Yeah. So I'll actually tell you, I thought the building across the street from Little Mexico in Palestine stayed empty for years. And I thought that would be a great place for Christmas break. And then they opened up the Mexican food place there. So I said, well, I guess that's not where it's supposed to be. So it's kind of up in the air. I can see myself going ahead and retiring in a couple of years, but then I can also see myself doing it for 10 more years. So I don't know. That I'm going to play by ear
Yeah.
as I go. I mean, I know what my options are, and I'll just see how life works out between now and then.
Yeah, it is good to have other options available.
Yeah.
What rules or curriculums or equipment do you think have helped or worsened the education system?
So, without fail, the standardized test has ruined education. It has posed so many challenges for teachers and districts, and it's caused complete undue stress on kids. You know, I always go back to before standardized tests. We got to go to school, and teachers got to teach, and we learned valuable life lessons. We learned the curriculum, and we came out of school more balanced and better educated, I think, than kids are coming out today because of that standardized test. Everybody's hands are tied as to what education really should be. So I think that without fail is the number one thing that has made education worse. Now, as far as helping education equipment and things that have made it better, technology always. I love technology. And I think when used correctly in combination with the right curriculum and the right expectations, technology hands down is the best thing we've delivered, you know, to kids who may or may not have access to it.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have expected the answer to be like technology is worsening the education system.
Well, when I'm talking about technology, I'm not talking about, because there is a difference. I learned that I'm a certified librarian, and so I was the librarian my last years in Elkhart. And so the librarian now, you know, people think librarian and they think the keeper of the books. Well, that's not the case anymore. The librarian is the keeper of technology in a school. So when I'm referring to technology, I'm talking about the things like you see here for this podcast and educational tools. Like I had a 3D printer in my library at Elkhart, and kids didn't have exposure to a 3D printer. So when I talk technology, I'm talking about things that kids can't readily get their hands on that the schools can provide to them. I'm not talking cell phones, and I'm really not even talking computers, because when it comes right down to it, we as adults automatically assume when you hand a kid a computer that they're going to be more technologically savvy than someone my age. But that depends on what you're looking for. Because when I taught English 4, I would have to walk my kids through what research looked like, because I could tell them to research something, a topic, and they would type that in and pull up the very first thing they got. Well, that's not valid research. In my experience, you've got to go pretty far deep to find the good quality stuff. So when I talk technology, I'm talking about true educational technology and not just cell phones and computers.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit silly on the podcast. We're going to go into our silly section here. Being around all these students every day, you probably hear a lot of modern vocabulary and slang words.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious, what comes to your mind whenever you think of like modern day slang?
Okay. So one thing, my oldest son is really the one that uses slang, and he's 26. He's grown, but he's the one that really uses, you know. My favorite one is "you don't want no smoke." I just, every time he says it, and he's not an intimidating person.
He says that to you?
He is, oh, yes. Oh, all the time, yes. But he is so laid back and so chill that for him to say that, it just cracks me up, because he is not intimidating at all. And then, cap, you capping.
Cap.
Like, that makes no sense to me. Tell me how that because it's like if somebody says you're capping, you're lying, right?
Yeah.
How do those two things connect? Please explain that to me.
I honestly have no idea where that one came from.
No hat?
What?
Hat.
No
Cap.
hat?
Cap.
Oh, okay. Never have heard
No
that.
hat, no lie.
Oh.
I don't know.
Oh.
That's just what I think of whenever they say cap.
Okay.
Hat or no hat.
So here's where I go with that, because I'm the weirdo that when I hear stuff like that and run across crazy things that people are saying, I want to research it, because my degree is in English. And I did a project my senior year of college over folklore and colloquialisms. And so that was the coolest project I ever did. And I always want to go research what's the origin of that slang? Where did that start and why? Because, you know, we have slang as far back as the English language goes. And used to, their origins came from, you know, scripture or Greek mythology or something like that. And now I don't know where their origins they're coming from. So I think it's fun to go research where those came from.
Well, I actually have a game if you would like to play it real quick.
Okay.
All right, there's going to be 4 rounds, okay? And each round, I'm going to give you 5 different slang words, right? This is called the slang game. And you have to guess the fake one, like the fake slang word. And you also are going to say, like, what you think it means, and we'll tell you after. All right, round 1, you have flex, low-key, skibbity toilet. Hold on, there's more. Only in Ohio, and phantom tax.
And so what am I supposed to do here?
You have to guess the fake one.
Oh. I know the first 2 are slang. Read those last 3 again.
Only in Ohio, phantom tax, and skibbity toilet.
Well, okay. Skibbity toilet sounds so ridiculous. It probably is slang.
Okay.
I'm going to say. I would say only in Ohio is fake.
You think that one's the fake one?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually have a confession. All of them are slang.
Really? So you tricked me.
This one was a trick. Yes.
Okay. So I won that round because you tricked me.
Okay. So do you know what? I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know what phantom tax means. Skibbity toilet, that's like a YouTube channel. Only in Ohio. What do you think that means?
Oh, I would say that it's like, I don't like, that would only happen in Ohio. Like, that ain't right. You know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what
It's
it is.
just weird.
Oh, cool.
And what about flex and low key? You also have high key, but most people say low key.
Low key's like on the download, like be cool, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then flex is like when you bring your game, right?
When you bring your game?
Yeah, like when you flex on somebody, you're bringing your A game.
Kind-
You don't.
kind
Oh,
of.
see, you don't know what that means.
Well, I don't know what bring your A game means.
Seriously,
that means?
like you're doing.
I mean,
You're at the top of your game. You're doing the best.
I guess. I mean, in most cases, I think of just like, for the word flex, they're like bragging,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I guess you could say it in
bringing
how
your A
you-
game. In a,
that
in a
kind of works
sense.
with it.
Yeah. Because I hear people talk about it like in sports and stuff. They flex on somebody.
Yeah. All right. Ready for round 2?
I guess.
All right. You got Riz. You have L&W Riz. You have Tapple, Yapping, Ick, and Sus.
Oh, I know sus is one because apparently the black Air Jordans with the white swoosh are sus. Somebody told me that. Oh gosh. And what was that first one?
Riz.
That's slang.
Is it?
I don't know. I think I've heard that. What was that third one?
Yapping.
Oh, that's probably slang. So the second one,
Tapple.
tapple. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to say that you made that word up.
That is correct.
Oh.
Do the cheer sound effect. There you go.
You can cut it off.
Just gonna keep cheering. Yeah, Jackson usually cuts it off after like a second or 2. Yeah, you got that one right.
Okay.
What do you think Riz means?
Oh, I have no idea. I just know I've heard it. I've heard it.
You have like game.
You have
Oh,
game.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many people are in love with you? That'd be your Riz.
Really?
Essentially, yeah. And L and W. L means lose and W means win.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like L is bad Riz, W is good Riz.
Okay.
And what about yapping?
I would just have to say yapping is just running your mouth.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
pretty
yeah.
generic. And then sus is suspicious. It's short
Yeah.
for suspicious.
Yeah.
What about ick?
Well, if I were to apply regular meaning to it, it's kind of gross. So is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a
Basically-
pretty easy
basically.
round, I
Yeah,
guess.
that is.
All right. For round 3, we have slime, glow up, mood, let me cook, and parked.
So let me cook. I would have to say that's probably one because it just sounds goofy, and that's what happens a lot of time in slang. Glow up is one because you see that on all the social media platforms. What's the first one?
Slime.
I'm gonna have to say that probably is one.
That is one?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
Because drip is one, and that's dumb. So, tell me the third one again.
Mood,
That's probably one. I don't know in this round. And the last one was.
parked.
I'm gonna say that's not one.
You don't think that's it?
Well, now that you're making that face, I think it is. I'm still going to stick with it. I'm going to say that's not it.
Unfortunately,
I'm wrong.
you are correct.
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
You got it.
Good
Yeah.
deal.
Slime, I've just been seeing it on Instagram, and it's like your best friend, your homie.
Oh, I didn't even know what that one meant.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've just been saying, what's up, Slime, or whatever.
Okay.
I don't really get it, but mood? Do you know what mood would be?
No, but I've heard kids in the hallway say mood.
It's like how you're feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally just your mood.
Okay.
And then let me cook. Do you have any guesses for that one?
None. None.
Do you want to explain it?
I don't even know if I could. It's like, let them keep going or let them like try again.
Let him explain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last round, you have feta, drip, bruh, dog, and pookie.
It's either the first or the last one. I'm going to say it is the first one that is not.
Feta?
Uh-huh.
You're correct again. You're really good at this. Wow. Okay, yeah.
It pays to have kids in your house, too, because they don't speak English either. So I have a funny story about bruh. It was one of the first times I heard it. My son was still in college, and it was New Year's Day, and I was cooking dinner, and he called, and he never called at that point in time. He always texted, always, unless something was wrong or he really needed something right then. So I'm cooking dinner. We're at my dad's house, and everybody's around, and my phone rings, and it's him. And I said, oh, this is never good. Tucker doesn't call unless something's happened. So I answered the phone, and he said, well, I broke my ankle.
Oh.
And I said, what? And he said, I broke my ankle, and I broke both bones in two. I'm like, holy cow. And so he's in Arkansas, 7 hours away, and I don't know what to do. He's not with anybody I know. He had a car, a Standard at the time, and so he wasn't going to be able to drive his car. And so we're talking, and I'm like, Tucker, I need for you to tell me how you're going to get your car home. Do I need to come there, or is somebody going to drive your car home? And he said, bruh, nobody can drive a Standard here. I said, did you just call me bruh? Because he's not like that. He never, he just would not. And so his college roommate was with him, and he said, Tucker, hand me the phone. I'll just talk to her. And so anyway, we got it ironed out. But we still, his college roommate and I still laugh about that. They're actually neighbors now. He still laughs. The day Tucker called you bruh. So anyway, I get exposed to the slang a little bit.
Wow.
What did you say your favorite one was?
You don't want no smoke?
Oh, that's
You
right.
want to smoke?
So let me ask you, y'all have been doing this for a minute now, and for people who don't see the behind the scenes kind of stuff, there's a whole lot that goes into this, technology-wise and collaboratively. So now that y'all are into it, I like to say knee-deep into it, you might do an episode to walk people through the making of a podcast.
Okay.
One episode. Because I think too many times people who are not tech savvy or who have never really, a lot of people have never even listened to a podcast. So they don't get the work that goes into one episode. They don't understand just sheer editing. It takes a lot of time. And, the decisions behind how you edit something. So that might be, that's one thing that, it's not a question, but just a suggestion. I've had a lot of people ask, what takes so long? Why is it such a big deal? Because it is a big deal. Yeah.
I actually really like that idea. We
Yeah.
might do that within the next few episodes.
Yeah, because I don't know of another school, and that just may be ignorance on my part, but I don't know of another school in our area that has a podcast. To my way of thinking, it's a trial and error thing right now for y'all, because you don't really have anybody to model it after except for true podcasters, and the research that you do. So I'm proud of y'all. I'm impressed that
Thank you.
You're that solid.
I think we thanked you at the beginning, but I want to thank you again for being so supportive of this whole thing and this whole journey. It means a lot to me and a lot to the students as well who are watching or who are avid watchers who tune in every Wednesday when we come up with a new episode. So I want to thank you.
Yeah.
And for coming on and being a guest.
Yeah. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah.
was
We
a really
appreciate
good
you
time.
coming on.
Yeah. Thanks.
I guess you can do the honors of the outro if you'd like.
What is an outro?
Outro.
Outro. Oh.
So you have an introduction, you also
Okay.
have an outroduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like?
So that's the wide camera that has the whole table. You can just look over there, and then you'll say, "Thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk."
Thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk.
There it is.
There we go.
All right.